Today we have Brooks Kirchheimer, who is the co-founder of Leave Room for Dessert Eateries, a Utah-based restaurant group designed to thrill their guests. Their restaurants include Urban Hill, Hearth and Hill, and Hill's Kitchen. So with that, welcome in, Brooks.
Thank you so much for having me, Chase. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm excited to have you. I've heard your name. I've been to Park. I mentioned before we record. I've been to Park City quite a bit. I haven't been to your restaurant, admittedly, but I certainly will. And I've heard awesome things about your guys' brand, and so excited to have you on and hear your story.
Yeah, thank you. Look forward to having you at one of the restaurants very soon.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it as well. Well, first thing I typically ask my guests, Brooks, is to talk a little bit about your upbringing. So you're an entrepreneur. You've founded restaurants. Would love to hear about childhood or teenager development, years that impacted and influenced who you are today.
Yeah, no, great question. I was born and raised in La Cañada, California, which is a suburb of Los Angeles, and have two sisters, one older, one younger. And kind of the story goes that when I was about 7, I asked for a cash register so that I could play pretend restaurant with my two sisters. And so I was one of the rare kids, I like to say, that knew kind of what he wanted to do from a young age. It was either that or sports broadcasting. I was into both, and so I kind of just did both all the way throughout high school. And I wrote for the local paper in high school, worked at a mom and pop cafe called Penelope's Cafe on and off for 5 years in my hometown. And so when I was applying for colleges, I was lucky that I knew exactly what my major I wanted to be, and that whittled down a lot of the universities and looking for a smaller school. And so ended up at the University of Denver in Colorado for hotel, restaurant, tourism management as part of their business school, and really enjoyed my time there. I mean, for those that have been to Denver, a lot of people say Salt Lake City is the next Denver, but better. I like to say it's the next better Denver.
Yeah.
And obviously a lot closer to the airport, the mountains, everything else. We've got it going pretty well here in Salt Lake. And so, I love Denver. Great sports scene. I'm a huge sports guy. Intern at Fox in Colorado for a year as a sports intern. Was really thinking, all right, minored in journalism, is that the route I go? But, restaurants, hotels are a little bit easier to get into. Obviously, sports journalism is very competitive, hard knocks. A lot of, former professional athletes take a lot of those jobs. And so I've, found a lot of love in the restaurant world, obviously with my passion from a young age, and grateful to grow up with two very loving parents. Dad was in the financial industry, mom more on the medical side, took some time off to help raise myself and my two sisters. And then went back to school, actually, when my younger sister, we're just 2 years apart, both older and younger. And so it was kind of fun to have her in school at the same time we were. She's very competitive, who got better grades. I was never winning that battle, but I won the social smarts, hence why I'm a restaurant guy. We like to talk to people, make people feel better, all those good things.
Yeah, that's great, Brooks. And my dad is a journalist. He was a news anchor. He is a news anchor for many years. And so I can attest that that's a very challenging industry. I think you've made the right choice, because we were moving around every 3 years to different states and locations, and just like, it was tough. And so from a stability standpoint, that's great. Well, I mean, what was it about food, hospitality? You mentioned the cash register and wanting to do that, but was there something specific about that, that excited you?
I think just the interaction with people, it's so fun in restaurants. You literally get to see, in hotels for that matter, that I've worked in, every walk of life, every background, not just from the guest standpoint. I mean, I think from the guest standpoint, you see people at their lowest moments, at their highest moments, at their in-between, which I think is really amazing. Working in Hawaii for a couple of years at Merriman's there, we used to tell the team, a lot of our guests there come to Maui once a year, twice a year, have houses there. But there's also a lot of guests that have literally been saving for 4 or 5 years just to go on this one trip. Yeah. And it would be hard for me to even wrap my head around that. Like, wow, you're saving for 4 years to go on this one trip. Like, gosh, the pressure on us to make this an amazing dining experience for you is pretty real. And people's weddings and anniversaries and birthdays and all these other celebrations. So, I mean, every night there's something, people's dog who died, and you don't even realize it when you're walking up to the table. Then all of a sudden it's like, all right, how do I pivot and really empathize with them and kind of help them celebrate the life of their dog? And, so there's just so many different scenarios that come up on a daily basis. And then also the people that have really challenging days. I hate to say it, but I learned this a lot when we opened Montage in Deer Valley back in 2010. And we had some pretty upset people. And these are people with, decent pocketbook. And I would say, like, these are people that probably don't see their family a lot. And so it's sad to say this, but they're not used to spending time together as a family. And so it creates some pretty tense situations. And then they take it out on us when they go to dinner, and they're upset at their sister, but they take it out, so it's pretty interesting to be a part of all of that. And then also, like, go into people's rooms in their lives when you're in these hotels to deliver room service or something. And there you are, seeing their toiletry bags and other paraphernalia and things that are, throughout the room. It's pretty wild.
Yeah. I mean, I'd say the restaurant culture, or the restaurant hospitality has such an influence on our culture and our experiences as we go out and celebrate, or, even just on the daily basis, going to lunch with a colleague. I mean, there's so many impactful moments in those nuances. So I think that makes a lot of sense. So you went to University of Denver. Tell us a little bit more about that experience. I mean, you were trying to decide between journalism, food and hospitality. How was that major? How was your experience and some of the things that you did while at University of Denver? Yeah,
beautiful, beautiful campus. I mean, they've only upped their game there with new buildings and such. I love it too. Being a big sports guy, it's not going to be the front page sports team, but they're very competitive. The cool thing there too, just as a quick side note, is they have so many different, I call them, unique sports, hockey, gymnastics, lacrosse, all top 20 nationally every year, women's lacrosse, women's gymnastics, basketball. We still have not made the Division I tournament, but we're playing December 13th at BYU. So
nice.
Really excited to go to that game this year. I think it'll be a lot of fun, but yeah, I really enjoyed the city. The campus is just 10, 15 minutes away from downtown Denver. And so you had access to a lot of businesses and entrepreneurs, and at that time back in, I was there from 2004 to 2008, Denver was still very much growing, similar to where Salt Lake is today. And so it was a lot of fun to be there at that time, to witness the city grow, to go through challenges, the unhoused and everything else. But also being there in my major, they have a great program there, require 1,000 hours of work service before you graduate. And so they really get you to get out there. They had a brand new building open up my junior year. So that was great to be a part of that. And then from the journalism side, as I mentioned, interning at Fox in Denver as a sports intern was really fun to be able to go to the big games. And I was a sports editor of the school paper. So I traveled with the hockey team a few times and the basketball team, and was able to get out and experience. And it's kind of cool to see these college athletes in their element on the road and just kind of what it's like. And then also to be able to go to other college campuses was a lot of fun.
Yeah, that's great. So you graduate from University of Denver. It sounds like 2008.
Yep.
And then I noted you, as you mentioned, spent time at Montage, and a few other locations, or, restaurants or hotels prior to starting Leave Room for Dessert. So yeah, maybe walk us through your early career. Why did you decide to go where you went out of school? How were some of those experiences?
Yeah, it was a really interesting time. I'm very grateful to have graduated when I did, obviously right before the recession in 2008. And so I don't think people really knew what was coming. And so luckily, that spring of 2008, before things really hit, we still had multiple hotel and restaurant groups coming to the campus to recruit, and interviewed for a few. I got a few jobs, was offered to go to Pebble Beach, the Little Nell in Aspen, a few other properties, but Montage came through, and they had gone to Cornell, which is always one of the top hotel schools in the country, and then came to Denver and looked for a few of us, and coincidentally offered myself and then two of my roommates and best friends, one who I actually also went to high school with. She and I went to high school, college, and then ultimately ended up opening Montage in Beverly Hills. And so Montage Beverly Hills was Montage's second hotel. They have the one that many, many people know, Montage Laguna, that just celebrated, I think, their 20th anniversary. And they've been around forever and have done such an amazing job. And that's where Montage was really built from. And so was grateful to be able to have the opportunity to open Montage Beverly Hills. And one of the reasons I took that job is because a lot of these other hotel and restaurant groups, it was a training program. It was, you'll do this, and there wasn't really like, what will you end up doing? And that's where with Montage, it was like, no, we're hiring you as an assistant manager. There's no training program. Like, you are the assistant manager. And I appreciate that challenge, opening a brand new hotel, 5-star hotel in Beverly Hills, the opportunity to go back home to LA. I think was really fun. Although I didn't live with my parents because Beverly Hills is about an hour drive, LA traffic. from my hometown of La Cañada. So I actually ended up living with my best friend, Matt, who also opened the hotel together. And it was an amazing experience. I started as the restaurant manager on the rooftop of the Montage Beverly Hills, was there for about a year. And the recession hit about basically as we were opening the hotel. And it was a pretty humbling experience as a young, 21-year-old out of college. Pretty eye-opening to see these people that were well into their careers a few months after we opened the hotel get let go. And I have since joked that as the youngest salaried manager on the payroll, myself and a few of other colleagues from Cornell and Denver that got recruited to come, we all had the safest job in the building because our salaries, if they cut us, it was stupid because we were the cheapest people there. And, it was much easier for them to cut someone's salary that was 3 times us and we could basically do the job.
Sure.
Just obviously we didn't have as much experience. So that was a huge eye-opening experience. And, feel like I ended up making the right choice because then being thrown in these situations and really seeing the hotel grow in the first year, and obviously celebrities galore, had the opportunity to serve breakfast to the Dalai Lama, go into the rooms of Michael Jordan, Jay-Z, Meryl Streep, Tobey Maguire. I mean, you name it, David Robinson, Judge Judy would stay there when she filmed all of her shows in LA. She lives in New York, but she flies to LA to film her show. So it's pretty eye-opening to walk in these Harvey Weinstein, who's obviously in the news for all the wrong reasons. He was there all the time. And you're in these people's rooms and they trust you to be in there and to respect their privacy. But then also just the diversity of the staff that work there and the growth of being a brand new 5-star hotel and then being thrown into situations. A year after we opened, I was moved from the rooftop restaurant down to room service. And so for me, that was a big eye opener because I didn't want to go down there. It was not my choice. And it was room service is a 24/7 operation. And so here I am, 22, maybe 23, having to take over this operation that is 24/7. And it was a big learning opportunity, but I'm really grateful for it. It's those ones that you're not excited about that I think end up being the best opportunities for you when you look back at them at the end of the day.
Yeah. It sounds like some really great experience and very unique too with the celebrities. And then also opening a restaurant or a hotel from scratch. I'm sure just seeing that from the ground up, is so valuable, especially going then and starting your own thing. Seeing all the problems that arise in a new venture. So from the Montage, what was next? How long were you there? And then why did you ultimately decide to make
a
pivot?
That's where Utah comes back into the fold. Is I grew up coming out to Park City for a week every year to go skiing with my parents and 2 sisters, and just grew a love of it. And obviously going to school in Denver in the mountains, really just loved the Mountain West. Both my sisters ended up going East Coast, and that just wasn't for me. I wasn't the big city guy. I grew up in LA. I enjoyed it. I enjoy the perks of it, but was excited to go to Park City. And so there was a Montage, the number 3, Montage Deer Valley being built. And I saw that and asked to be moved out there. So I moved out about 2 months before we opened Montage Deer Valley in December of 2010. So I've been with the Beverly Hills property for almost exactly 2 years and learned a lot there. And so I actually took a step back. And so that was really humbling. I was a salaried manager, basically was the manager of room service, in-room dining at Beverly Hills. And then the position they put me in was a hourly supervisor position running the Daly's Pub, which is at Montage Valley, where they have the bowling alley and arcade games and the wood-fired pizza. So it was humbling. Here I am, a young 23-year-old thinking that I just got through this recession. Like I can do anything. What are you talking about coming back to a supervisor? It ended up actually, the silver lining is that as an hourly person opening a hotel, you end up working more overtime hours than regular hours.
Yeah.
So it was great because I was getting paid more than probably a lot of the salary people because of the amount of overtime I was getting. So it worked out to be just fine. But I think it was great, a humbling experience for a young professional like myself. Again, you don't realize the good learning lesson in that until a couple of years later when you look back and you're like, all right, some of those frustrating moments probably that I was cursing and yelling turned out to be for the best. So I did that. Again, 3 months after the hotel opened, I was put back into room service because the opening room service manager didn't work out. Went up to their Vista Lounge for a summer to manage that. Went back down to Daly's to manage Daly's. Was promoted a couple times there, and then really enjoyed my experience. And one of the gentlemen that had opened their breakfast, lunch, and dinner restaurant, Apex, had left to go back for the Sundance Resort, Robert Redford's brand, and They had the one operation outside of the resort called Zoom on Main Street in Park City. And I'd been with Montage for 4.5 years at that point. Hotels are amazing. Being in, I was in the restaurant part of it for all 4.5 years. They're great, but it's not the same as working at a standalone restaurant. And so I was ready to make that switch to more of a standalone restaurant. And so there was an opportunity to become the general manager at Zoom, Robert Redford's restaurant on Main Street in Park City. And so I took it. And the gentleman I had recruited, Steve Solomon, he was my boss as the director of food and beverage for Sundance. And he and I had worked together at Montage, and he was a great mentor to me to help me grow into that, my first real true general manager position of running an operation. And when we took it over in February of 2013, it had kind of bottomed out a little bit, went through some tough management, and we were able to take it from a $2.3 million restaurant to a $4 million restaurant. Wow. In just over 2 years. And that was really rewarding, built probably the best team I've ever worked with. Just really teamwork mentality, close team. Definitely back when Park City was a little bit different, where a lot of the staff lived right around Main Street. Today, obviously, with the prices of housing, it's much different, harder to live in the Park City Main Street area. And so that was an amazing opportunity to really just spread my wings and get out there. And it was the best of both worlds because it was a standalone restaurant, but it was also part of the resort. So I would go back to Sundance once a week for meetings, but also got all the benefits of being a Sundance Resort employee, the ski passes and dinners at the Tree Room and the Foundry Grill and all the amazing things that people love about Sundance Resort. And then also working for a truly amazing family in the Redfords that obviously love Utah and have done an amazing job of keeping up what they've done down there.
Yeah, such great experience. I love it. And then as we talked before recording, you took some time and went to Hawaii. Was that following your time with Zoom?
Correct. Yeah. So I met my wife at the Montage nice. When we were like bussing tables during winter break, spring break, whatever, during the busy times. My wife was in sales. The sales team come like help during like the busy breakfasts and lunches when there, wasn't enough staff to do it all. And so, yeah, we just started to click and anyways, we were dating, and she had been in Park City for 5 years and just really didn't have the upward mobility that she was looking for. And so started looking for opportunities. Actually had gotten a job in Washington, DC. So we were going to move to DC. I'd given my notice, and about 2 weeks after she gave her notice, her corporate boss called her up and said, "Hey, the director of sales and marketing at the brand new Montage in Maui in Kapalua isn't working out. Would you be interested?" And 3 hours later, we had flights booked for the next, I think it was the next day or 2 days later, to go to Maui for 48 hours and do a quick reconnaissance to see if that was the better decision than going to DC. And it was. It was an opportunity for her to become the director of sales and marketing at the Montage in Maui. I didn't have a job. And so luckily enough, the general manager there knew that, all right, if your husband's not happy, you're not going to be here for long. So he did a great job connecting me with Peter Merriman, the Merriman's Restaurant Group, who just, I think is the best, I'm biased, but the best restaurant group on the islands in Hawaii. They have a Merriman's fine dining restaurant on each of the 4 main islands, and then also the Monkey Pod, more casual restaurant, I think on now 2 of the islands. And just great restaurant group to work for. This was a beast. I think almost $11 million a year restaurant, right on the water, beautiful. Probably had 150, 200 wedding celebrations every year, corporate groups. It was the place to go to if you're staying on the West Side for dinner, and then brunch on Sundays. And so awesome experience. Again, took a step back, went from becoming the general manager of running the Zoom restaurant to becoming just a restaurant manager. I was promoted within 6 months to assistant general manager. And then 6 months later, took an opportunity to become the general manager of their next restaurant in Honolulu. Unfortunately, as you can imagine, things in Hawaii take a long time. And so the construction kept getting pushed and pushed. And so ultimately, they wanted me to go to Kauai and help kind of the restaurant there for a few months while the restaurant in Honolulu was struggling. Was still being built. And that was been about 2 years at that point. I'd be on the islands, and my wife was ready to move back. And we had always said that Park City, even when we were living there, we were like, Park City's our home. Yeah. It's where we love Utah. And, my goal at that time was to open a restaurant for someone else and then go out and try to open it with myself. And we were there, and my dad, kind of towards the end there, had retired from his financial career and was spending more time at their place in Park City, and had called me up and said, "Hey, there's this opportunity in Park City, this," and, had started working with some just people to look at some opportunities in Park City, and I was like, what am I doing in Hawaii when my dad is living out my dream in Park City? And my wife was ready to move back, and she ended up becoming the director of sales and marketing for the Montage Inter Valley. And so we moved back December 16th of 2017, and we opened the Hearth and Hill, our first restaurant, December 16th of 2018.
Got it. I wanted to ask on the Hawaii experience. I know a lot of people, I mean, Hawaii is obviously amazing. I've been there several times. How was it living out there? I mean, was it everything you could have imagined? Was it like paradise, or was there like island fever at all, or like missing home? Like, what was that dynamic? I'm just curious.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, I remember my wife calling, a month after she got there, about 2 months before I did. And she called me one night and was like, I don't see anything else but water. Like, it's the, most isolated place in the world, which it is. And so, yeah, you have those moments. I tell people a lot that culturally, best place I've ever worked. I mean, you learn so much, so many different cultures there. The Hawaiians, the Filipinos, Japanese. I mean, it's truly amazing. And then to go explore the islands. But yes, you do get island fever. There's only so many places you can go on Maui. So many different grocery stores, restaurants. There's really no sporting type stuff. I mean, high school becomes your like sporting thing there on Maui. They have the golf tournament, and then the Maui Invitational, which this year got moved to Oahu. Actually, the townhome that we owned burned down during the recent fires.
Oh my goodness.
We didn't own it anymore, but obviously we've, provided money and anything else that we can back to the people of Maui, because we still have many friends there, and our heart aches every day for them. And just now trying to rebuild, I can't even imagine.
Yeah.
So, but no, I recommend it. I think it was a amazing experience to be able to go there for a couple of years and really live the Hawaiian lifestyle. And, I tell people, sadly, I didn't surf one day when I was there. I paddleboarded a few times, obviously went on the ocean many times, but my wife and I were one of the rare ones that we were there for career growth. We were there to, climb the ladder, learn. And obviously a lot of people that live there, they're there for the opposite. They're there to go in the ocean every day, surf every day.
Right.
So that was challenging as well from a business standpoint, is to try to get things done and to work with people that don't have the same urgency as you do.
Yeah, got it. That makes sense. Yeah, I resonate with that. When I lived in LA, I could count on one hand how many times I went and surfed. I just kind of sucked at it. So I was never went to the beach plenty of times, but got beat up by waves a few times as well. So all right, so now jumping into Leave Room for Dessert Eateries. So your dad is in Park City. He has some of these ideas. So yeah, take us through kind of that first year. You come back to Park City. You have this concept that you want to launch. How did you guys get it off the ground? How did you develop the idea? What was that like?
Yeah, we had initially started looking at other restaurants that were for sale, and we quickly came to the conclusion that it's one of my first quotes in the paper that instead of buying someone else's mess, we want to start our own mess. And so. Yeah, we just wanted to create our own identity. And Kimball Junction at the time was still kind of growing. In the area that we are now was only like 40% occupancy. Best Buy is still there, anchor tenant. And so it was an opportunity for us to really make our own identity, build our own restaurant. So Hearth and Hill, we wanted a restaurant that really was locals first. Obviously, as you can imagine, in Park City, and those that have been up there know that it's a resort town, and very much centered on the visitors at times. On Main Street for sure. That's who pays the bills year round, especially in the summer and the winter. And we wanted a place with Park City growing that could really be locals first. And so we call it a gathering spot. Hearth means fire. People like to gather around the fire, and we're up in the hills. So really was an awesome opportunity for us. The building that we were in was built in 2008. Developer fell on his face. Bank took it over. Current landlord then took it over a few years later, and they've held it ever since. And they were in no urgency really to fill the spaces. They did some residential add-ons across the street. That's where they were able to make some of their money. And then our space was a vacant 15,000 square foot space. We took 5,000 square feet and turned it into Hearth and Hill. Lunch and dinner, upscale casual restaurant with a private dining room, beautiful bar, open kitchen, and nice patio in the back, brunch on Sundays, and really just comfort food that people, I would say fun food that people want to eat. So burgers, ramen, pho, mac and cheese, burrito tacos, gyoza, shumai, everything's made in-house. Empanadas are on our menu now. Great entrees at night. We have Idaho trout back on our menu. We have a Tennessee hot chicken, So hummus, lots of gluten-free vegetarian options. And so it was really just a concept that we wanted people to feel comfortable with, that really they could go to after a soccer game, skiing on the mountain, or they want to go on a date night, or a business group wanted to have a nice business dinner. It could really be flexible for any of those.
Yeah, that's great. So how long, or I guess, how did you guys develop that initial menu? I mean, how long did that take to go through the recipes? Did you hire a chef? What was
I think it's just like opening any business. It's scary to think like, are people going to show up? I mean, I think that any entrepreneur probably feels that way. I'm sure you did too. It's like, but especially for restaurants where you count on people walking through the door. And I remember thinking those first couple of weeks, like, is anybody going to come? Like, here we are, we put all this money and, a year's worth of work into this concept, and who's going to show up? And luckily you hire the right people. We were big on outsourcing. So, PR company, our HR payroll company, HelpSide, who we've been with since day one out of Linden, Utah. We outsource them to do our HR, payroll, health insurance, 401k, all of that. So that, obviously less expensive than having the own person in house. Same with our accounting from the beginning, had an outsourced accounting firm. So yeah, it took a long time to come up with it. And then a chef that I had worked with at Zoom, we brought on as an executive chef. I'm not a chef. I've taken some cooking classes in college and such, but we leave that to the experts and the professionals. And so Jordan Harvey was our opening chef and did an amazing job putting together a menu that encompassed our vision, but also other items that we knew that the guests would want to eat and that would attract them to the restaurant. And then put together a great management team, and we were off and running.
So there was this 2018-ish that or when did you?
Correct. December 16th, 2018.
Okay. So that was when you opened.
Yep.
Okay. So how long did it take? I guess you were in Hawaii, and when did you quit your job there to start working on Hearth and Hill?
Yeah. I think my last day there was the first days of November, 2017. And then I took about a month off, to help kind of move and, just get ready for the next transition. And then basically was unemployed for, I guess, about a year until we opened the restaurant.
Yep.
But I did some like quirky little side jobs when I first got back to Park City, bartended during the Sundance Film Festival. It was nice to be honestly, after grinding for, gosh, at that point, 8 years out of college of, just go. It was nice to have a couple, I guess, about a year, a few months first coming back, and then obviously went straight to working on this restaurant. And then we signed the lease, I think about March of that year, 2018, March, April, and then started construction in August. It was a super quick build for commercial. I mean, these days it's impossible. We built it in basically about 4.5 months.
Wow.
5,200 square foot restaurant.
Amazing.
These days would take minimum 6 months to build that.
Sure.
So that was impressive. Magleby Construction built that for us. We had an architect design firm out of LA. So it was all about, we kind of call it just building our dream team, building the right people that have the right ethos, right ethics, right, just everything, doing things the right way, as we do, and having us all come together and build the project. And so it worked out really well.
Yeah. Was your wife also involved, or she was doing?
No, we wouldn't be married if that was the case. Really? We're not one of those amazing couples that somehow can work together. And I mean, those that can, kudos to you. But yeah, it's great that my wife and I met in hospitality because she understands it. I always say if I was married to someone that had never worked in hospitality, I don't know if it would work, just because it's tough. I mean, there have been nights where I'm like, oh yeah, I'll be home for dinner. And it's, 6 and 7, then 8. And it's like, oh shoot. Yep. I guess I'm not making it home for dinner tonight. We have a kid now and one more on the way. So a little bit tougher now. If I'm coming home for dinner 95% of the time now, I say I will be there. But back in the day when we were no kids, it was a little bit easier to be like, I got to stay here. We got 20 tickets in the window. I got to get food out, which is crazy. Mm-hmm. But also, I learned a lot from that too, from my mentor, Steve Solomon at Zoom, that stuff's going to happen whether you're there or not. And I always used to think like in my head, I got to be there. Like, I got to be there to talk to the people, to make sure it doesn't go wrong. Like, I'm the only one that can do it. And that was obviously when I was much younger as a leader and a boss, whatever. And I learned very quickly that you got to trust your team. And if things go wrong, great. It's an awesome learning opportunity. You need to fail at times to be better. And so I thought that was a really good lesson. And so I've been able to kind of take that and run with it, that like, yes. And as you grow in the hospitality industry, you spend more time on the computer, and that's not why we're in it. We're in it to be on the floor, to connect with the guests, to have the fun, to provide a meal that is such an experience that they talk about with their friends for weeks on end. And so sometimes to not always be there for that is, I think, the most challenging part now as an owner. But you hire the right people to be a part of the passion. And it's honestly so humbling every single day. We say this to our management team on a daily basis, that it's so humbling to have other people come in, be a part of the team, the family, and take that vision and that passion and run with it. And we're really grateful for it.
Yeah, that's great. So I'm curious, and I like to dissect it a little bit with my guests on how they got things going. So what was the initial capital required to get, a restaurant off the ground? And then how did you fund that? Was that friends and family? Was it, partnership with your family or investors? Or I'm curious to hear that.
Yeah, it was tough. We're in a lucky position that we were able to self-fund it.
Nice.
And I would say a couple million to get it going. I wish the construction prices were still what they were back in 2017. To today, that'd be really nice. Yep. We'd be able to build many, many more restaurants a lot quicker than we are today. But no, it was great to be able to very gracious and humbled to have that, and to be able to get it off the ground and going, and to get the design firm and the construction teams in place to build it and then open it. And for us at the time, it was huge. Being in Park City, we had to open the restaurant prior to the winter season. We knew, that's a tough thing with commercial construction. A lot of families are like, we want to get it done so we can, have our house in time for Christmas and this and that. And if it doesn't happen, it's like, oh, it's a bummer, but life still goes on. Mm-hmm. With commercial construction, we had already hired managers, chefs, done tastings, practiced the menus, started buying all of our plates and silverware and napkins and you name it, uniforms and all that stuff. Like, we got to get into this place. And so we put the pressure on the construction team that we were going to lose our staff if we didn't open the restaurant before Christmas, because they would go find another job, because that's when you make your money. So they're not just going to sit around in Park City, be like, oh, these are nice people. We'll just wait for them to open the restaurant, even though it means I'm losing thousands of dollars in, tips and everything else. So it was crucial for us to open that restaurant December 16th, and be open for the holidays and be able to get the team up and running and start making the money that they were looking for.
That's great. So how did it go? I mean, you opened the doors. Was it what you expected? Would people flood in, or was it like, how'd it go? It
was really, again, I've said this word a few times, but humbling. It was really rewarding, I think, as well. You put so much effort in. I mean, I know every industry has so much hard work, but I'm biased towards the restaurant hospitality industry that it is just tireless. I mean, I was up till 1 a.m. last night working on payroll and other things. And it's a grind. It truly is. But I love it, and, have so many goals that we want to achieve as a company. And so, we learned a lot in those first few months, like any company does. You open your doors and you think certain things are going to work that don't, or going to sell. I think that's always the thing on the menus, right? Is a chef's like, oh, this is the amazing dish. Everybody's going to buy it. And you're like, it's the lowest selling dish. Like, got to kick it off the menu. Sorry, but got to give you a kick to your ego there. Yeah. So I think we learned a lot from that standpoint. When people are coming in, what hours do we adjust our hours? We were first open till 10. Now we're, quickly we change it to only being open till 9, things like that. Staffing wise, how much staff do we need per table, to serve appropriately? And then going into summer, summer up there is much different. How do we adjust? We're using the patio for the first time, and then marketing, how do we continue to get people in? We had brought on a PR firm, a local PR firm up there, Krista Graff, before we opened. And so she was really helpful in spreading the word media-wise, hosting media dinners, getting the word out so that we could attract guests in.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, always learning and pivoting and doing what you need to do. That's great. So you have this restaurant that's open. When did you think about expansion or doing, opening your second one? I know now we mentioned Urban Hill, and then the other one, Hill's Kitchen. So how did you think about expansion from that point? Yeah,
we had always kind of, to be honest, before we even opened Hearth and Hill, we were like, we want to be a group. My dad loves the word scale. Scale allows you to do a lot of things. And so we were in a lucky situation to be able to grow. And it was something that we were looking to do, to open other concepts, look at other places. And So we did it quickly after we opened Hearth and Hill. I'd say about 6 months to a year after we started looking at places down in Salt Lake. Salt Lake has always been a really appealing place to us because of the growth. You know, there's so much areas here to still grow. I mean, like we said at the beginning, kind of looking at it as like a Denver, where it has a long way to go, but it's already made so much progress. And economically, obviously, a place that the restaurant scene is great down here, but could always use some growing from that aspect. And there's a lot of boutique restaurants in Salt Lake, and we always are like, we're going to build big restaurants. We like big, 5, 6, 7,000 square foot restaurants, 100, 200 seats, big scale. And so we were looking, obviously something called the pandemic came about, and obviously kind of shut things down. And we still were, engaging with LOIs and negotiations and trying to see where it was the right move. We had an LOI on the space, kitty corner across the street from the convention hotel. Mm-hmm. And we were really big on that, but it just wasn't the right partnership. We quickly learned, we negotiated for about a year, that it just wasn't going to be the right fit. And I learned that from my days at Zoom. The landlord there was terrible. And we have a great landlord for Hearth and Hill and Hill's Kitchen in Park City. And it makes the world of difference. And that's huge advice I give to any entrepreneur that is signing a brick and mortar lease is don't just sign, it may be the best space, but if you can tell that you're not going to be able to have a strong partnership with that landlord, get out. It's not worth it. I promise you. The headaches that will cause of them not helping you when you need it will be unmeasurable. It will suffocate your time, your emotions, your mentality, everything. And it will cause you to really suffer and challenge yourself in the business. And so we walked away from that just because it wasn't going to be the right fit from a partnership standpoint. And so we, with our broker, looked at some other spaces, and that's where we came upon the Post District, which we knew, was going to be a little bit of a process. First retailer in there. We signed a lease there before they even had started marketing it to the public. And same at Sugar Alley up in Sugar House, where we'll have our next Hearth and Hill. So that will be number 4. And so the growth really has allowed us to promote managers, hourly associates into roles that otherwise, if we had just the one restaurant in Park City, we wouldn't be able to have that type of growth scenarios.
Yeah, makes sense. And so in the Post District, is that Urban Hill?
Correct.
Okay, got it.
Yep.
Yeah. So that, and you mentioned that's been open for about a year now.
Yep.
Okay. Was that before Hill's Kitchen or after?
Yeah. So funny enough, we were crazy. I don't know. We probably should have checked ourselves into a psych ward, but I think it was, again, probably about April of, if I'm doing the math now, 2021, if I'm not mistaken, that we signed 3 leases within 3 months of each other, basically. Hill's Kitchen, Urban Hill, and then Hearth and Hill Sugar Alley, which is yet to open. And we just love the opportunities. Hill's Kitchen, we opened now about a year and a half ago, March of 2022. We're doing some catering out of Hearth and Hill. We just didn't have the space for it anymore. And then same with, we're big on being one of the only restaurants, I believe, in Utah that has independent restaurants that has its own pastry chef. And again, just didn't have as much room for that. And so we're like, all right, there was still one space left in the same building that we were in, but smaller, 2,600 square feet. And so we're like, all right, let's put a catering kitchen in there. But then like, all right, catering can be up and down. So what do we do to keep the staff busy year round? Let's put a cafe up front. And then all of our desserts for the other restaurants will be made out of here, but we'll also sell pastries. And so it became kind of our bakery, cafe, catering kitchen. So that's Hill's Kitchen, 2 doors down from Hearth and Hill in Kimball Junction of Park City. Open 7:30 to 3:30 every day. Grab and go sandwiches, salads, made to order breakfast items, lunch items, boba, tea, full coffee bar, smoothies, and then a huge catering kitchen, and then full pastry kitchen. We have a couple dozen pastries we put out every day, make cakes. We're doing some Halloween classes, soon. So yeah, that was really fun. And then Urban Hill was a space that we just really loved the development, loved the partnership with, the Low Group and Brandon and Blazer. Yep. Just really awesome opportunity there. Opportunity zone as well. 13-acre development, 580 apartments, multiple, 1,000 square feet of retail space. Then Traeger Grills, their headquarters is right next to us. And first retailer, as my dad likes to say, be number 2 or 3 is easier. Number 1 is hard to lead the way. And so we were the first retailer. And the second, Levels Crossing Brewing and Urban Sailor Coffee, they opened in June of this year. So about 6 months after we opened. And we're big on being partners with our neighboring restaurants. You know, a lot of people are like, oh, is that competition? And we're like, no, it helps bring business. You know, Michael McHenry, someone that you've spoken with on this podcast before, they're opening Sunday's Best right next to us. Again, it's going to be awesome to have them there as neighbors. Michael McHenry is one of the best restaurateurs, if not the best in the state, knows how to run restaurants very well, marketing genius. Have a lot of respect for him and his whole team. And so we're really excited to have him as neighbors next to us. And it'll be great just to fill the space and bring more vibrancy. You know, Post District is definitely an area that is still probably 5 years away from being, you know, more walkable and people being a little bit more comfortable on a regular basis to walk around there. Although I like to tell this to people that during the All-Star weekend, 2 months after we opened, we hosted the Denver Nuggets coaching staff, and they walked from the Delta Center to our restaurant about 3 blocks. So
nice.
When people are like, oh, I don't know if the Denver Nuggets coaching staff who just won an NBA title can walk the streets of Salt Lake, you too can walk to Urban Hill.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, no, that's an awesome development. And I've seen that over the years. I mentioned I was working downtown with another developer and I have a ton of respect for BCG and Lowe and those guys and what they're doing. It's an awesome project. So good for you guys. And
yeah, thank you.
That's that'll be a really good one. Well, what do you think about next for you guys? So you've got the 3 open, you've got 1 under construction. You know, what do the next few years look like?
We definitely have faced some adversity. Hearth and Hill Sugar Alley was supposed to be open by now. Many will remember that huge fire in Sugar House just about a year ago now. I think we're coming up on the anniversary.
Yeah.
And so that was a tough one to swallow. But, you know, people are always like, oh, that must have been tough. And it was. It was really challenging because we were just about to open Urban Hill. We were a couple months away from opening that. And then we're going to go right into it. And so I think it's given us a little bit more time. We're able to kind of step back a little bit and be able to change a few more things that, to be honest, if we had just opened it, you know, when we were supposed to this past spring, we probably wouldn't have had the opportunity to take a step back and make some changes and operationally kind of look at, all right, does this make sense? Do we want to do that? And they're redoing all of Highland Drive. So it's really impacted the businesses that are currently open. And so that has given us the opportunity to not face that challenge as well. So they're rebuilding the building as we speak. We hope to start our construction at Hearth and Hill in the spring. 100%. The landlords, the Lowe Group, also part of that project, called us probably, I don't know, a few weeks after the fire happened, and just said, we understand if you want to walk away. And we said, my dad and I were on the call. He was in LA, I was in Park City, and he asked in front of them, said, do you still want to do this, Brooks? And I said, 100%, we're all in. My dad said, we're all in. Like, we're committed. We're your partners. We're not going to walk away from this. We're going to go through the heartache with you. We're all in. And so we're committed to, you know, being there with them when the doors open. It's going to be an amazing celebration, probably the best that we've ever had as opening a new business, having gone through that. And so we're really excited to be, you know, just that special story and just the challenges, and really grateful no one lost their life in that, and really grateful to the fire department and everybody else that helped get through that challenging night. I was up late working coincidentally and got a text message at midnight from Ron Cole, who's part of the group, and he lives in Orange County, and just said, hey, building's on fire. I'll be up in the morning.
Gosh.
And so I spent I was probably up till about 3 a.m, texting with the Lowe brothers and just, should I come down? You know, laying there in bed. My wife is asleep. She has no idea what's going on, obviously. And there I am, like, listening to the police and radio, you know, and like, wow, on Twitter, Facebook, you know, looking at all the things coming in from the fire department, pictures.
Yeah.
So that was tough. And then we actually had a small fire at our neighbor. So in Park City, Hearth and Hill and Hill's Kitchen, we have a bike shop in between us. And this past March, the bike shop had a small HVAC fire up on the roof. There we have nothing above us. So everything just goes straight up to the roof. And because of the amount of snow that we got in Park City this year, that the firefighters couldn't really tell how the fire was spreading, because it's a metal membrane roof. And so it's kind of really tough to see how the fire is, especially when it's gas. You know, gas can obviously spread and you don't really know. And so they put a ton of water up there. The fire damage was, I mean, probably 10 square feet. And it was just over the bike shop. We had no fire damage, but the water damage with a membrane roof, the water goes in and it just spreads, like, you know, just whoosh. And so we had full waterfalls in both restaurants. And
oh man,
because of, you know, I always tell people in business that yes, you get frustrated with people at times, but never burn bridges, because you never know. And because we had just finished constructing Urban Hill 3 months prior, we were able to, within minutes, I was down at a meeting here in Salt Lake with Visit Salt Lake, got the text message, I'm in this meeting, ran out the door, flew up the highway faster than ever before. Thank God no highway patrol were out there, and got there and called our insurance broker. He had the remediation company come right away that ended up doing the whole building. Roofing company that we had just used, they were there. Electrical, I mean, was able to call them, and because of great relationships that we had with them, something that we take a lot of pride in. We're definitely more hands-on than most construction companies probably want us to be.
Sure.
We ask a lot of questions. But we also will bring food to the construction teams and, support them as well. And so because of that, we were able to get the restaurants back open within 4 days. That, to be honest, probably could have taken 2 or 3 weeks. Yeah. And that was still in the middle of the winter season in mid-March, when it was still a very busy time for those restaurants.
Yeah. Wow. So you guys have had some bumps in the road, but to stay resilient. I didn't realize that you guys were in that building.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember seeing that all over, Twitter and the news, and being in real estate. It's like, oh my gosh, like you feel for the development, you feel for the people who are planning on moving in there, the tenants. I mean, that was great. So, wow. I mean, so it sounds like you were a few months from opening, or a couple months from opening. And now, when do you project opening in that location?
Yeah, best case scenario would be end of 2024.
Okay.
I'm pushing hard. My dad likes to be more realistic and say probably early 2025. Mm-hmm. So we're also looking at maybe adding a Hill's Kitchen there as well.
Yeah.
Now that we've had some more time, very similar setup to how we have it in Park City, where they're basically next to each other. With Hill's Kitchen being the more grab and go, casual coffee spot, meeting with some friends, get some work done type place. So we're looking through that as we speak. We're actually taking some of our team members to LA next week to look at some concepts there that we think would be good learning lessons, not just for that, but also just day-to-day type stuff.
Sure.
Because Salt Lake has a great scene, but it's always good to go to some other cities. We take pride in taking our team to other places. We're taking our GMs and executive chefs to Charleston, South Carolina in November to just do some R&D and look at what they're doing out there. It's really important, we believe, for the team to get out there, and it's good, team bonding, but also for them to say, oh, okay, we could probably do that too. Or, this item's on the menu and that sells really well. Okay, well, maybe we should think about doing that.
Yeah.
It's kind of get them out for a couple of days and get them out of the bubble and just get out on the road and see some new things. So yeah, we're hopeful that in just over a year that those will be open, and Sugar House will have that kind of back in a better place.
Yeah. I'm sure it will. Beyond that, have you thought about additional concepts or additional locations? Are you thinking about that within Utah or elsewhere?
Yeah. In the last year, it's been really humbling now that we have a few concepts getting some more phone calls and emails. It's really humbling to be in that position to have people reach out to you and say, hey, we've got this new development coming. Would you be interested in joining it, bringing your concept here? For us, it's all about the right fit. And also something that we think about a lot is staffing. Does that area have people in the area that will work at our restaurant? Obviously, liquor is a big part of making money in restaurants. So are we in an area that will be a big part of our revenue or not? But also, again, being the right partners. So we fielded a bunch with the two, Hearth and Hill, possibly another Hill's Kitchen on the horizon. Those are our focus right now. But you also don't know with the economy. We're watching that really closely to see what happens. Yeah. Hope that doesn't happen. But if it does, there could be some opportunities through that could present themselves. We love Utah. During the pandemic, Utah, the Office of Economic Development was so amazing, I think, to all businesses here in the state. Very proactive. I'd be on calls with national restaurants and other independent restaurant groups, and they would be like, wait, what are they doing? What money are they giving you? You don't have to pay it back. And I'm like, yeah. And they answer on the first phone call when you call them to ask questions. Wow, we don't have that here in Illinois or California or New York. And so I think sometimes people forget how lucky we are to do business in Utah, just with the great systems and things they have set up. Yeah, there's still a lot of room to grow, like any of us, and our business has a lot of room to grow. But I think the Utah has set up really well business wise. So we'd like to stay in the state. Who knows if we go down south, go up north. Idaho is really intriguing, I think, to us. Boise, I think, is an area growing. Colorado, obviously, where I went to school, possibly. I can tell you, growing up in California, that I don't think we'll be going there. Just too many labor laws and just challenges I still love visiting. but it's a tough place for restaurants to do business.
Yeah. Agree 100%. Utah's incredible. And, well, last few questions for you and we'll wrap up, Brooks. Just in terms of advice you'd give, I mean, you've shared a lot already, but when you think about somebody who wants to start a business and the challenges that come, I mean, is there any generic advice that you give to anyone or budding entrepreneurs who are trying to get into starting something on their own?
Yeah. I mean, I think one of the best things we did from the beginning was create our mission statement. I forgot to mention that when you asked, what the setup was like for Hearth and Hill 5 years ago. And so our mission statement is to inspire our associates through our guests and enrich our community. And I think that really allows you as a business owner and entrepreneur to set the groundwork and say, this is who we are and this is who we will be, and stay true to. For us, it's doing the right thing, not cutting corners. The restaurant industry, unfortunately, allows that to happen too often. And so we're big, we've offered health insurance since day one, 401k plan with 6% match since day one. We feed our team for free every single day across all of our properties. All of our managers have PTO. We have maternity, paternity leave. So we really try to be top of our industry and provide things that not a lot of other independent restaurants are doing, because we know that the restaurants take a lot out of people. They ask for a lot out of people, and also trying to provide a work-life balance. As I always say, people move to Utah not just to work at a restaurant all day. It's to go out and enjoy the scenery and all the things that Utah has to offer, which is why we all live here. So I think just setting who you want to be and what type of business and what do you want to offer to your employees and to your associates. I think that's really key to establish that from the beginning, because nowadays that's a big thing as to what people look for. We've hired a lot of people because of our health insurance plans, our 401k plans. It always amazes me as to what benefits people are looking for. And we're always seeking to get better. Every year we do an annual review of our staff and we have a stay interview. How can we get better as a business? What benefits could we add that would, help keep you here? So I think that's big. Listening is a huge thing for us. To our guests, Google, Yelp, it's tough out there. Let me tell you, people like to hide behind the keyboard. I'll be honest. If you're out there, please, I encourage you, if you have a tough experience, ask for the manager, be the adult in the room, have the tough conversation in person. Don't just go home and hide behind the keyboard, as we like to say, and write the 1-star review. Yeah. It's tough. Like, trust me. I say this nowadays, that running any business these days is tough because it has changed in the last few years since the pandemic. Especially in restaurants. I think any restaurant owner will tell you that the talent that was out there 5-6 years ago isn't out there as much today. And so you're having to train more, do more coaching in the moment, I think, of any business. And so it's tough, and we're going to fail. We're going to have weak moments. And so be kind to that business and help them. But I also would say listening to your staff is so important. It's not always going to be fun to listen to them because they're going to say things that you don't agree with or don't think that happened or whatever. And I think letting them know that you are listening and not just like pushing back and that didn't happen or this or that, but letting them know that, yeah, you know what, you are right. We can get better. We can do better by you, or that situation was tough. So I think those are big things. Have fun. I love waking up every day and doing what we do. We're able to be a big part of people's lives. And I think especially for those that work with us, as I mentioned, we have all walks of life, people that live paycheck to paycheck and people that are able to go on trips and other things. And so we're able to work with each of them and really try to make their lives, and not just work with them on their professional goals, but also their personal goals. Like, okay, you want to go on a trip with your family to Hawaii? Great. How can we help you get there? Can we help you with this or that or whatever else? We're having an all staff, all company party in a few weeks. So we go to Bees games, Grizzly games, Jazz games. So just trying to have those fun moments where you bring the team together and everybody can have a good time.
Yeah, great. So many, tidbits of advice there and really great things to extrapolate for others and their businesses. Last question. This is what I ask all my guests, just to talk about maybe backing up a little bit and looking at life. I think a lot of times we focus so much on the monetary outcome or the business outcome or whatever, but like, what do you think about when you think about success in life, or like a life well lived? What do you want? I guess, what are you trying to accomplish, and what do you define as success in your life?
That's tough. I think from a business standpoint, one thing I'd say is my dad and I, we would say we're long-term greedy. We're not in this for the short term. We invest in these restaurants for a long, long time. And so we put capital in them. When our team says we need to get this to be more efficient, let's buy it. And so we're long-term greedy, but I think in life in general, I'm really grateful to have two parents that, my dad, workaholic grinder. That's where I got that from. My mom, a very hard worker, but also, extremely respectful, genuine, loving. The type of person that walks through the TSA line at the airport and looks at the person and says, "How's your day going?" And genuinely says it. I remember seeing her do that when I was 12. I'm like, what? You don't even know this person. And my dad, similar thing, walks around, the office when he was working with 300 employees and knew every single person's name, their kids' names, things like that. And so I think it's just, my wife, Catherine, and I talk a lot about how we want to raise our 4-year-old son. And then we have a daughter coming in February of what this crazy world, how we want them to live in it. And I think a lot of it is just respect and be nice and kind to people. Going out of your way to do things to people when you don't have to, when people don't expect you to, I think is something that we strive as adults and as a couple and as a business to do on a daily basis. But also to get out there and to take risks and to have fun and really just to have memories. I think a lot of people have moved this route, with birthdays and Christmas of instead of gifts to have trips or experiences or family time together. And we're certainly of that, of this having time together, doing, crazy things, but giving back as well. How can we impact the community? Something that we've done a lot as a company since we opened, gave $20,000 in matching nights during the pandemic at Hearth and Hill. Try to do everything we can with the nonprofits here in Salt Lake and Park City and around. And so I think just at the end of the day, when I retire, whenever that may be, I think it's to look back and just say, was able to be there with my family and have them have the support and the love and the care and be able to be there for kids' activities and all that, but also have an impact on the lives of those that worked in our restaurant group, and then make them feel good that when they walk away that they learned something, but they also are a better person because of it.
Yeah, that's fantastic. No better way to end. And again, really appreciate you taking the time to share your story, Brooks. And for those listening, go check out Brooks' restaurants. And yeah, again, thank you very much for being here.
Appreciate it. Yeah, thank you, everybody. We look forward to hosting you very soon.
Awesome.